Okay, hello, and thank you for being here at this session. This is a media philosophy session for the Global Walkability Correspondence Network, GWCN. We started this series this month, and it was actually born out of a network meeting last month in which a fellow network member asked me about my media philosophy at pedestrian space, which is something I think about a lot as it's changed over time. And of course, it drives a lot of my action and content. And then we started talking about his, and then we realized, of course, there's so many people in GWCN who are actively engaged with media creation, many of them since, of course, long before joining the network. So we thought it would be really interesting to start a series in which we spotlighted various network members, understand more about their media origin story, their media philosophy, how they use media to engage with the public, document their activities. So today's session, we are featuring three of our India-based correspondents: Santhana, bicycle mayor of Hyderabad; Arghyadip, who is with the Calcutta Tram Users Association; and Felix, the bicycle mayor of Chennai. I'm really happy all of you are here. Argo, you've been in the network since the very early days, and it's always inspiring to hear about your passion for public transit and also specifically what's going on in the ground with tram advocacy in Calcutta. And Felix and Sahana, I mean, you two were among the first bicycle mayors that joined the network, which I thought was really interesting. We have a connection with Simone, the bicycle mayor network coordinator, here in Europe, and it's really nice to have bicycle mayors in this network, I think, to also understand how you're advocating for sustainable mobility broadly, but then also see what you're doing with bicycle advocacy, which is a lot. So I look forward to hearing more about that. So without further ado, shall we begin? Felix, would you like to begin?
Yes, hi, thanks. Thanks for the introduction, Anita. For people who see me later, welcome to the show. Yeah. So, the media philosophy. There's a lot going on in every city in India, specifically India, and it's a very large crowd to, attract uh, anybody towards a non-motorized transport. So, I keep it non-motorized transport because that is more cohesive for both walking and the cycling. That's more cohesive term for it. So it's better I share it as an LP. And so the all the advocacies that we try to do initially, we started off with the bicycling promotional activities, and eventually I got into the network like a couple of years before, if I'm not wrong. So we started off with the cycling activities, then eventually figured out there is always the city sees both walking and cycling as a mode of transport and named them as non-motorized transport. So I thought, why not extend the same amount of effort because the stakeholders and the decision makers are going to be the same for both walking and cycling infrastructures and also interventions that have to be planned and eventually took up this walkability as well. So everywhere I go and discuss about cycling aspect, I also take a point to make sure that pedestrians are also like given the focus. But fortunately, the pedestrians gain more importance than the people who ride a bicycle for some reason because this in between transportation is slowly disappearing. And one of the main reason for the disappearing act is uh, we do not have enough visibility for this particular mode of transport. Um, when the stakeholders talk about the road users, they talk about people on the sidewalks because that's a mandatory infrastructure given, which is the pedestrian part, and then the road users, that is the private vehicle users, both car and bikes. Now, the focus is only on these two aspects, motor vehicles and walkers. There is no in-between mobility, which is a bicycle that it disappears in the whole lot. So the visibility matters for bicycling aspect equally for the pedestrian as well. And how do we build? As and when I started, it was more about understanding why we lack visibility, more about why we need to how we need to promote. rather than why we need to promote, what do we need to promote, and whom should it reach, our target audience. So the first round of audience will be the people who we know very closely, and they are the ones who closely watching you, and eventually the like-minded people who wants to share the same ideology like Santhana, Argo, and other people, and the third boundary will be the users that are far away, not reachable, who are already a private vehicle user and got sophisticated, comfortable with whatever they have. So initially, it took a lot of effort because we need to have organic understanding, like you say in the social media terms. It has to be organic growth. We need people to understand what we're trying to say very easily. And also it should make an a good imprint on what we're trying to communicate to the people. So these are the seeds of thought. We only put seeds of thought. We can't, eventually, we can't immediately attract a great number of crowd and ask them to, hop onto the bandwagon and ask them to support the walkability and cyclability in the city. So how we started off, it was all experimental. How we started off, there are people who are experts in this social media engagement activities, but I also want people to um, reduce the dependency on their motor vehicles. So increase the use of walkability and increase the use of um, cyclability in a city for short distances at least. So how do we transpire them? Obviously, the nudging factor, because we are looking at a massive behavioral change, and when we are talking about the density of population that we are focusing on compared to other cities across the globe, we are around 9 million citizens here in the city with a square kilometer of 3,000 square kilometers, something like that. So the density and the people, the diversity of the people is large, because there is one particular segment of people who has no choice but has to walk and cycle for their livelihood. There is another set of people who can afford both two-wheeler, and there is another set of people who are very luxurious. And they treat walking and cycling as a part of luxury activity in their lifestyle. So how we reach all these three segments, and how we come to a inclusive, engagement with all these people. And there was no particular strategy that I had to follow on how I'm going to execute this. But eventually, I figured out that, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he told in an interview that if you do not advertise yourself or what you do, you will never reach the people. So that is one tagline that stuck to my head. So basically, we have to look into self-advertisement and self publicity aspects. It's not about gaining and gathering pride and feeling happy about it. But if you don't advertise what you do, it is not going to reach the people or reach anyone around you. So all the activities that I do with the stakeholders, for example, the stakeholders here are the Chennai Corporation. We have a planning and policy agency, which is Chennai Metropolitan Development Authority, and the umbrella organization under which all the transport organization comes under is the Chennai Unified Metropolitan Transport Authority. So whenever we work with them, we make sure that we give proper social media engagement on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, wherever I can post to all my fellows, the fellow people I know in my own profession and in the cycling arena. They have a tendency to reach out and ask about what's happening. It's all about creating an intriguing moment to the people, making them make sure that we engage in the platform as well, because engagement is equally important as much as we want to promote whatever we do. It's not just we post it out there and we ask them, and we expect them to come out and um, participate in this activity, but we put a post on social media, make sure that it gets engaged, make the people intrigued to ask questions on what is going to happen, what will happen. So there is a sustained momentum that we have to develop. For example, I also work with the stakeholders in order to make sure that we create a long-term campaign in the city to start nudging all the people to adopt alternate mode of transportation because the city is also getting congested since we are densely populated and each household these days they have at least two minimum cars and two motorbikes. And if all these vehicles come on road, obviously we're going to face congestion and parking problems and pollution and all the aspects that we see. So how do we get into these people's mind and uh, make sure how they start thinking. It's seed of thought that we have to plant in the people's head, but also the seed of thought needs to have a sustained improvement in different stages. Um, because if you go to any of the people who are using four-wheelers in the city and you ask them, have you seen cyclists? They will definitely say no because they haven't seen, they won't see. And that's because cycling lacks a lot of, advertisement, a lot of marketing that actually needs to be done. And if you ask people on the highways, if you see people walking, they'll definitely say no because they don't see at the speed of where they're traveling. But there are people who are walking on the highways, there are people who are cycling on the stateways and the interior roads, etc. But to make sure that they notice them, we need to bring them to their notice. And how do we do that? We are planning to create a sustained campaign marketing strategy that we want to do in Chennai city. We start off very slow with little amount of effort, not just by the social media, but other medium as well, print media. We have with television and also um, radios. So we want to partner with different types of media and eventually start off a campaign on a sustained momentum that, every month it increases the momentum of that activity. And eventually setting a target for 1 year, making sure that we, inspire at least few of the people who we are trying to reach because the segment and the people and the density of crowd is extremely large and everybody here is now, tied up with their entire own routine and it will be difficult for anyone who's trying to penetrate people's mind at this point of time because since after COVID, it has become even more tough to reach out to people because they are focused on their routine, the work, they don't know what will be next. So all these things are happening. So many things are happening with one individual itself. So um, a sustained campaign or a sustained momentum or media campaign should bring out uh, all the aspects of what we are trying to reach. For example, I would like the people to, start using public transportation, start walking and start cycling. But how do we give that to them? That is another problem. That is a problem of giving a sophisticated infrastructure for already comfortable users in a public transportation environment. And but they should know that this is also there because they are already stuck up with something that eventually causes pollution, traffic, and pollution. So the
Sorry
long
to
term
Felix, one moment. Sorry to interrupt you, but we just want to make sure we have two other members to get to as well. So let's be conscious to be able to have the other presenters as well. If you want to
yeah,
finish up.
I'm just going to quickly finish. So what I'm looking at it is a sustained long term campaign that we want to start eventually because that is what I've been pitching in for the stakeholders and through this we want to achieve proper walkability in Chennai city and also cyclability factors. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I mean, everything you're saying is interesting. I'm really apologize for interrupting you. I think we need to, it would be great to have more sessions. There's the three of you that we're featuring today, and there's more India correspondents in our group. It would be really great to have future sessions, even, for example, Felix, if you would like to help co-host with other members as well from India. And I know through the chat function we have in the group, Arghyadip was talking about penning a letter. I think there's so much we can do collectively, and I would be really great to see and be involved with some further activities in your group. Thank you so much, Felix. Arghyadip, would you like to share? Shall I pull up your Instagram?
Hi.
Yes, hello.
Yes. Hi everyone. So my name is Arghyadip, and in short, everyone knows me as Argo. And I have been advocating for tramways since 2016. Our organization grew from 4 members to now more than 4,000 members at present. It's not all because social media always, but yeah, majority of the time we do social media campaign. What we do on every Sunday, we have dedicated volunteers who works every day and night for collecting datas and giving views perspective of the public transportation because it was very hard for a common people to understand what is the benefit of trams because trams doesn't run in India only in one city, that is Calcutta, that too very dilapidated situation. So until our group has came up, people weren't knowing like whether tram runs in a modernized phase. So we had to show them the different world trams. So we always engage with the public authority about the tram modernization, and always there has been a hesitations to trams and like we have to remove trams because replace with metro as the metros are the bigger contractual projects. So we it's always fighting with hurdles. So last 2 years has been a good momentum for us because of media advocacy. I would believe uh, because of our media presence, a lot of organizations around the world got hands together. Also, the Urban Transport magazine members, they have came this year in our main function, which we celebrate, which we be present physically, and we organize a tram parade and we upload in social media. And it became so popular that next year onwards, government intended to participate proactively. And uh, and this year we also filed a PIL. That's the latest update, and government has agreed to make a panelist in which our association members are involved in the key stakeholder for decision making for the trans. So it has been a fight for more than 10 years. We are fighting for it. And I believe advocacy is the thing we shall not lose our hope. Even if the one person, there is a chance, we keeps on trying, it's all about raising awareness. So I would like to request Anika to show the YouTube link what I have shared in the chat. Um, So mainly, now our main focus is connecting tram routes to the schools because schools are the things, trams give social values to the children as when they travel in public transport, they will get the social values to give the seat for senior age people or the women's first and interact with people, and this is a socialization they get. I don't believe any other mode in buses, trams, all these public transportation teaches you social values. And whereas if you ride in a car, you become selfish. That's what my perspective is. Yeah, this video recently we celebrated on 24th of December, 150th years of Calcutta Tramways, where we demanded from the government to modernize the system and keeping it alive. Yeah, these are the trams our organization had decorated with the school children came in and painted the trams.
Okay, I think I'm not going to play the whole video. I don't know if there's any copyright issues with recording another video and publishing. So, but there's the name. People can look up From Australia with Love for Trams.
Yeah,
Calcutta's iconic tram turns 150 on YouTube at the week. Do you have, are you done, Argo?
yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Actually,
And
yeah.
it's a,
Later on, like it's a single session we need for each of the perspective. It's a very long topic to where to start, where not to stop, and yeah, we have a limited time, so yeah.
yes, today, and we have 3 of these sessions. We had one a couple of days ago, and then we have another one with 3 other members coming up next week. And the idea is really to get a few people featured and just offer glimpses of the work. And indeed, it would be great to have single sessions because each of you deserve a full hour at least just to begin to tell the story of what you're doing. But these are really meant
Yeah.
to be featuring a few members at once. So let's go on to Santhana.
Thank you, Anika. I'll take, so basically I'll take 10 minutes, right? That's what is the plan, right?
Yeah.
10 minutes. Yeah. So to start with, I will first of all thank you, Anika, for this opportunity. This is great. And thanks to Felix and Arghyadip as well for their great work they are doing. I'll take two parts in it. Out of 10 minutes, 5 minutes about my work, and then less of the 5 minutes about the strategy, media strategy. We are that's media strategy and philosophy we implement in our work. So to start with, I thank 2 organizations here. One obviously is GWCN, Pedestrian Space, who have given this opportunity, and also I'm one of the correspondents, GWCN correspondent. So I'm glad that I've got this opportunity as well. And secondly, I would like to thank BYCS, who has actually appointed me as the bicycle mayor of Hyderabad, and that has given a platform for me to execute for the cyclists. And given that scenario, I've actually expanded my scope as well, not just the cycling related. My scope have actually increased into active mobility, which actually includes walking, cycling, and public transportation. So the reason we have done that is that it is not practical to do just have cycling as one of the solutions for a lot of the urban problems, right? So Hyderabad is actually a very fast growing developing city. With that, there are so many urban problems like any other city, starting with pollution, traffic, and also urban health problems. So, in order to solve this, active mobility is the solution we believe, and I believe that's the right solution as well. And we dream that we dream for our kids and grandkids to use public transportation, walking, and cycling for going to their schools without any safety problems and without any supervision. That is our ultimate dream, and we believe in a quote which is actually that I mean you all know about it, which is actually developed city is not where a poor having cars, but it's more about a rich using public transportation, walking, and cycling. It's an extended version, but that is what we believe in. So we have done some structured work here in terms of how in Hyderabad we have to execute it. um, we actually created a concept called Hyderabad Cycling Revolution. That is the Instagram page you're actually looking at. Hyderabad Cycling Revolution, we have done about 3 versions of it. 1.0 was, I mean, first version was mainly to have a joint ride. Everybody in the city come together, make a presence on the road as a cyclist. That was the original idea, and then we executed it pretty much 1.5 years back. And then we had a second version where we got in much more people, like 2000, 2500 people on the ground, and we made a presence with the government. So there was an alignment with the government stakeholders. And 3.0 is the version where we actually made a mark in terms of reach of the message about active mobility. What is active mobility is what we wanted to reach to about 50 lakh people in our city. We have about 1 crore people in our city, pretty much 93 lakhs to 1 crore people. We targeted that 50 lakh people we need to reach through our work and also through the mechanism. So how do we reach the 50 lakh people? Here is where I'm actually shifting the gears to the media philosophy, what we have actually used. 50 lakh people directly going and talking, we cannot go and talk in this time frame. Basically, we took about 2 months as our 2 months as our time period, and then we worked towards that. How do we reach 50 lakh people? So when we do any work, it probably reaches about 100 people or 500 people, on the ground. We can do something like that only. How do we reach millions of people, right? That is where this social media and media actually comes through. So there is a management concept called, there are two management concepts which actually says the same thing: credibility and visibility. That's one aspect, which is actually, credibility is more about doing the work, and then visibility is more about showing to the world that what we are actually doing. That is what credibility and visibility is about. That is very important in any organization, and also in any of the social work we are actually doing. In other hand, there is one more concept called PIE, which is actually performance, image, and exposure. This is also a management concept which you can actually Google as well if you're an audience in this. So performance is where we actually do the work. Image is a, basically we actually have an image, we build an image about ourselves and also about our organization, about our revolution. And the third aspect is the exposure, where we actually talk about it, we actually spread the message through the various channels, right? As a change maker, we have to put the concept into people's mind. We have to, as a change maker, we have to have the behavior change into the people's mind, right? We need to have people to adopt cycling, people to adopt walking, and people to adopt public transportation. We need to influence. In order to do that, the social media is the biggest platform which we have in our hand very easily. Previously, without social media, probably we have to look for somebody from press or media or TV news, TV, television. We have to approach them and then have our communication done. But here, in this case, we have a strong, biggest weapon in our hand, which is actually the social media. What we need to do, and we don't have to worry too much about the press and the national, the mainstream media, where they will come automatically when we have strong social media presence. That is where, in order to do a foundation for the social media, very important is actually quality content. We need to create, as Anika was talking about the content as well, like we need to create a quality content. The content creation, there has to be a proper strategy. And also, what is the content, right? It has to be photos or videos, or it could be a text material. If I have to say a story, I will use blog, for example, a text material. If I have to say what is this journey we have done, that's probably we will do a, will write a blog. But if there is a daily thing, there is a constantly we need to communicate about the active mobility and various benefits and what we are doing in terms of the work, where photos and videos speaks a lot. And also there are so many tools like reels, memes, 10-second videos, 30-second videos. That is easy, very easy to the latest generation, to the Gen Z. If you want to communicate, the easiest way to reach is actually the social media, which there is various categories are there. Instagram is actually a major platform for all the youngsters, all youngsters to reach. And also Twitter is another platform where hugely we can actually touch the stakeholders, like the government stakeholders, and reach to the right person. And then automatically from the Twitter, all the mainstream media will contact us for the story, because they are also looking for such story. So the content also has to be with full emotions, colorful, trending, and also exciting. And at last, very importantly, it has to be very purposeful. So that is the concept we are talking about. Quality content has to be there. And also, as a marketing, we need to implement this marketing strategy perfectly into this. And we need to use the social media properly in order to have this communication done, so that ultimately it reaches everyone. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Very briefly, do you mind sharing just a tiny bit about this video I'm showing? It's on mute, but what is this 15-minute city
Yes.
challenge?
Yeah, this is the last thing. So after we have done this HCR, that is Hyderabad Cycling Revolution 3.0 version, this particular video, what we were trying to do as a 3.1, which is actually a sub branch, we were trying to convey our 15-minute city concept is something is there in Europe and all, which you are aware. We wanted to see if this is actually valid, or if we wanted to communicate to people that there is a concept like this where we can actually restrict ourselves. Already infrastructure is there. We might not be influencing on the infrastructure, but as a citizens of the city, as a residents of the city, can we actually limit ourselves? Can we actually implement our own life, restrict our own life, not restrict, with the freedom only, freedom. Obviously, it's a controversial topic in other countries, I believe, but for us, we were trying to convey to the city members that there is a possibility of living within the 15-minute city, and if it is not there, then we are actually not living in the right place, is what we were actually trying to communicate. And also we're trying to convey this message: 15-minute city, in our city, this actually eventually it conveys to our aim as well, which is an objective as well. So that is what we were trying to do, but we have not greatly progressed, but we have conveyed to thousands of people for sure.
I think this is really interesting and an example of a topic for a future session because, well, also the 15-minute city concept definitely is not only in Europe, I think, being looked to for visions in city planning, but other continents as well. And I think it's really interesting to hear from India how the 15-minute city concept is part of the DNA of many cities, even if they're moving in the opposite direction now. But to hear and learn more about which cities and towns you all know that already have this DNA from not even decades, maybe centuries of just
Yes.
this type of planning. That would be really interesting to hear about in a
Yeah,
few.
definitely we can talk about it for
Yep.
sure. Yeah, but it's online actually. Ideally, it was there originally. We just made ourselves into longer city. More than 30-minute city we became. But
Oh.
originally it was like that actually. We were all having everything nearby.
Mm-hmm.
That was the original design. But I think we are creating ourselves into bigger cities. Yeah.
Right. Many of your cities in India are original 15-minute cities. And I like what you said too about can we, I think it's even written here, can we be conscious and limit ourselves to 5 kilometer circle? And
Yeah.
I like what you brought up too about the restrictions because this, as you said, it is controversial. But as many of us know, especially since the pandemic, like I, for example, am having a fully neighborhood day this weekend. I'm having a fully neighborhood weekend, and it's wonderful. I've restricted myself to my neighborhood because I feel like it. I have things I want to do. I want to enjoy my neighborhood, and we could frame that as a restriction because it is, I am making a conscious decision to stay here, but it's also liberating because it's really relaxing. I think anywhere you are in the world, whatever continent, people make these kinds of decisions to have a neighborhood day, to have an at home day, to have a day fully on their block, you know. So it would be wonderful to hear more in future sessions about all your thoughts on that and your lifestyles too, because I think the personal is nice. I would like to ask you all, three of you, we have about 15 minutes left, but does like for example here, Santhana, you are speaking, and I know Felix and Santhana, of course, you're seen cycling a lot in your media, but how does your bicycle mayor, so you yourself are your media too. So how does your sort of personal lifestyle integrate with your media content? Maybe Felix, can we start with you?
I haven't started documenting my day-to-day life activities yet. So, but I do have a travel preference. My first choice of commute is bicycle if I'm going alone. And if I'm going as a family, then my first choice is public transportation, depending on the destination where I go. Or if I go alone, if it's too sunny, then I take a public transportation on train, on bus, and then I go for a tuk-tuk, three-wheeler, or eventually I don't have a car or a two-wheeler. So if I go with my family, I take a cab. It's, I try to reduce the dependency and also bring that as a practice into my family because my wife and kids. We were all used to, I as my family, we were all used to a very sophisticated, luxury lifestyle of using cars. We used to have a driver for the car, what we don't have now. So I sit in the back, enjoy the AC, no pollution, and we used to go. But then eventually, as and when I started, getting into the cycling and walking aspect of city, then I figured that if we are not setting an example, then nobody is going to, learn or get inspired or anything like that. I don't want to inspire anybody. People will see and people will change eventually. It will take its time, but as long as we are there, practice what you preach, walk the talk. That is something I want to practice. But yeah, my I have like I said, I haven't documented my personal whatever I do, but I do want to get there because all these kinds of nudges and seed of thoughts will eventually create some kind of good positive thinking towards public transportation. Because when I talk to people, they ask me how did you reach there. I tell them public transportation, and most of them are surprised. Why? Because they see me as a comfortable guy. It's not that I can't, afford a bike or a car. I can, but I don't want to. Uh, I'm just waiting for the more defining need for you getting and owning a car or a two-wheeler so far. So far, I haven't found that need for acquiring anything like that. Yeah, this is my part.
Okay, thank you. And Arghyadip, do you have anything to share on that?
Uh, in my daily life, I am a walkability correspondent, so I like to walk wherever I go. As I try to cover by foot. If I cannot cover by foot, I second option is public transportation. These are the majority of the modes what I do follow. Then I go for micro, that is three-wheeler tuk-tuk. Then last option would be like cab or taxi or anything. But majority of the time, I have a travel passion. So wherever I go for solo traveling, for instance, I do walk a lot and use local common public transportation. And these are the forms show the city better wherever you are visiting. By foot, you can see a lot of things. Whereas if you ride a car and just see glimpse to the city, you cannot experience. By food, you can experience a lot of things happening around you. And yeah, this is my perspective of, in daily life.
And Argo, as walkability correspondent, you've shared you've shared a few articles for pedestrian space, and you've shared many images with me. I love seeing the different images from people's daily walks and through the seasons, and that was the whole point of GWCN, was to create this global perspective. So yeah, thank you. Santhana, would you like to share?
Yeah, sure. So, as rightly said by both Argo and also Felix, we need to be an example. So, unlike what both of them said, I have from my previous like 6 years before, I've actually bought a car and also a two-wheeler, so I do own it. But what I do as an example is that we this 50%, I believe in this 50% of our transportation, which is something BYC has communicated to us, where we believe that 50% of our transportation needs is all less than 5 kilometers. So with that perspective, I actually implement pretty much more than 50, 60% with the walking and cycling for the needs actually. So not ignoring the parts about the fitness part, right? Which is more about less than 1 kilometer. I prefer walking, and less than 2 kilometers or less than 5 kilometers, I use cycling. And also more than 5 kilometers, we prefer public transportation. But with this whole 50%, 60%, I pretty much, for the weekend and all, like going to vegetables, going for any haircut, or going to buy fruits, or nearby to office, pretty much like 2 times or 3 times I use cycle, because it's less than 5 kilometers. And pretty much I try to do like 60%, 50%. That is the objective I actually follow. Other than that, if I have to go with the family, we try to go via metro. But otherwise, if they want, I mean, once in a week or so, we go out as a family. So they prefer car, so I go with the family's preference. But otherwise, from an individual perspective, I heavily implement from a 50, 60% walking, cycling, and public transportation.
Okay, great. Well, we're coming to the last few minutes. I wonder, I've been asking in the chat, does anybody have questions? Do you have questions for each other? Perspectives on each other's respective cities? Have you all been to each other's varied cities?
I originate from Chennai, so I and Felix know each other, and also I'm familiar with Chennai, but I'm very fascinated with the trams. In other hand, and that's a great work. When Argo started, about 4 members to 4,000 members of Tram. I think I wish very good luck and all the very best, Argo, for making that successful. I will be very excited. One day I will visit. Kolkata, and looking forward to
Yeah, most
travel by
welcome.
tram, because tram is not there anywhere. So that's a nice thing. Yeah, good.
Arghyadip, are you familiar with their respective cities as well?
Yeah, I've been to Chennai, I've been to Hyderabad, so I know pretty much about the perspective. Chennai, I've lived there for a year, I can say. So Chennai bus system has improved a lot. That's what I can see, and also they have developed the metros. Recently, they have introduced like you can carry cycle in the metro also. That's what I got to know. Is it allowed?
No, no.
No?
Recently they stopped allowing any kind of transportation of bicycle in the metro. Yeah, this
Okay.
is official. Uh,
Mhm.
Chennai, as other cities, Chennai is very checklist oriented, that they want to publicize as initial step, and then they don't sustain. That's where we
And
come in. Like, but I like the tram situation because if correct me if I'm wrong, I think tram was one of the first mode of transportation that came into Calcutta, uh, across India, if I'm not wrong.
yes,
Yeah, and then only the
no,
oldest
the first,
oldest MRTS is also from Calcutta, right? The
yes.
first, yeah.
First of all, first electric tramways was introduced in Madras, that is Chennai, but they discontinued it. Then Calcutta brought in. Chennai discontinued in 1960. 1960, the last tram ran in Chennai.
Very interesting. Thank you for that information.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I
Chennai was the
never had
Yeah,
first
a
city.
chance. Yeah, never had a
Yeah,
chance to
Chennai was
talk
the
to my
first.
grandfather about this.
very
Yeah,
interesting. Thank you, Argo. Good to know.
yeah. There were all 6 to 7 cities in India which had trams, and the yeah last running was in Bombay. It was like 1965. They just removed tramways instead of trolleybuses, but it became very unsuccessful. Trolleybuses didn't become successful in cities, so they had to remove trolleybuses also. Then they replaced with diesel buses. That was the biggest blunder. Whole world faced that. That was the era where majority of the tramway system around the world had gone. Then in 90s, once again they started to bring back. That time somehow Melbourne and Calcutta kept the tramway system existing. So it is alive. Otherwise, it would have gone.
What is the mistake you said? Sorry, I missed. It got broken the voice. What is the
Uh,
mistake?
yeah. So in 60s era, there was a boom of diesel buses, and they
Okay.
were more cheaper than electricity. So people thought that diesel buses are more faster movement and faster means of transportation. So majority of the world cities replaced tramways with buses. Even the London removed its tramway with buses. Then once again they have realized that as rubber tires, diesel causes pollution, they once again brought back tramways in new modernized form. It's called LRTS, light railway
Mm.
transit.
Right, right.
So yeah, now it's almost 300 plus cities have tramway system.
And tram runs purely electricity.
So yes,
Okay.
Yeah, see how much
I,
the automobile or petroleum industry lobbying, destroyed the places because they wanted to sell what they are finding out, and so to sell that you need
yeah,
consumption, and to consume you need the ICE engines, and that's it. Electric
mhm.
was gone.
Yeah, that is the but electric bus also has disadvantage to the battery decomposition. Even they don't know where to
Yeah,
decompose this toxic battery.
no,
That's
10
also
years
another
down the
challenge.
line, I think recycling will be a bigger problem than what we are facing now
Hmm. Correct.
because there is only one
Even
part
Melbourne
in
has
the
started renewable.
sorry.
Yeah, so recently Melbourne has, changed all its tramway network with solar power. So it's zero carbon emission, solar power. So it's a new investment also. So there is a scope, and recently we filed a PIL2 in Supreme Court and High Court of Bengal. So the Chief Justice gave the decision in our favor. So some panelists they have formed. So let's see. Let's hope for the best. It will take time, but yeah, eventually it should happen.
Hi, everyone. I need to stop recording here. We can continue the discussion, but I'm going to say thank you here. And I look forward to future
Yeah.
sessions that we can have also more focused talks, Felix, and entirely on the advocacy work you're doing and all the interesting things you were sharing. I think that's worth much more in-depth conversation as well. Argo, also about all the fantastic tram work you're doing, your commitment to public transport, and Santhana, so much of what you're doing as well. Really, I'm also very interested to talk more about 15-minute cities in India, something I think that all of you can probably share about, and how this was an original concept there that's actually more historical. So looking to the past for lessons moving forward on the 15-minute city. Thank you all so much, and until next time.
Thank you, Anika.
Thank you. Thank you, Anika.
Thank you, Anika.